there's a certain advantage that comes with working your way through hardship.
So the big question is, what are the top agents doing to absolutely crush it in real estate, grow their teams, and add more transactions year over year while so many struggle? If you ever thought about this, you're not alone. No one has been able to get the answers until now.
We spent the last few years helping agents sell billions in real estate, rubbing shoulders with top producers, which got us thinking, how can we expose more people to these insights to help raise the standard in the whole real estate industry? We then realized that we could help bridge the gap by getting the secrets from the best of the best so that you can succeed. My name is Andrew Dunn.
And my name is Peter Michael. Welcome to Elite Agent Secrets.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Elite Agent Secrets podcast. Today we've got Andrew Yeager, 4.5 years in the business, 140, 150 transactions, started with fix and flipping, investing, now doing developing stuff, all this craziness. So a bit of a different perspective for you today. And we're going to be covering topics about being a business owner, how to succeed, and, really niching down and then narrow and expanding from that point. So Andrew, I'm looking forward to opening up. This is a completely different perspective from everyone else we've had so far. So yeah, let's get back right into it.
Cool. Yeah, I'm happy to be here with you guys. Excited to get into this.
I think we're going to dabble into some of the stuff that when we started this podcast, didn't even think we're going to get a chance to. So getting you on, we're going to have to do an encore with your partner as well. But it's going to be super fun because I've seen you guys when you first started out, just laying the groundwork, right? Like I've known you now for what? Few years. I've known you before, like 6-7 years, right? From the
real estate.
Before real estate, yeah. I was telling the other Andrew a little bit about, some of the past, and it's been one hell of a ride. So I think a good starting point would be give us a little bit of context. Like give us the actual, I'm gonna have you do this, the actual reality of before. Why you went into real estate and how you have basically created a fucking real estate empire on the Northeast Philly.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, it's flattering to hear it put that way. I don't think we're necessarily there yet, but we're working on it, working on creating a massive empire and picking up some more land share of the Northeast. But so our story is a little bit unique in that myself and my business partner met when we were freshmen at Penn State. We met in the freshman dorms and we were both studying engineering, and we would have conversations all the time about how, neither one of us really wanted to be an engineer. We wanted to, be business owners. So we would always just be kind of bullshitting in our dorm rooms, talking about different business ideas and things that we could do in order to start our own business and get our foot in the door. And then the summer after our freshman year, we got started into network marketing, which, Peter, is where you and I met probably maybe a year after our start, 2 years after our start in that business.
Yes, sir. It's been one hell of a ride.
And that in and of itself was a ride for sure. I mean, we just took it really seriously from day one. And we were in that business for, 3.5 years. And by the end of it, we had, 50,000 people come through our business. We were in all 50 states. We were in 30 different countries. Both Tyler and myself were the top 50, on the top 50 incomer list, I guess, in this company. And, the company was doing $250 million a year in sales. So it was a massive company. So we had a pretty cool experience with learning how to build business, learning how to build teams, learning about systems that you can create to duplicate, and duplicate your efforts far past yourself. And we learned a lot about building a business without having all the technical stuff. We didn't have to really handle too much of our own accounting. We didn't have to handle too much of the legal and the compliance. That was mostly the company would handle that, and we were focused on sales and marketing. So it was a cool experience. And we just decided we were done with that. We were ready to move forward in our careers, and there's no longer was a place for network marketing. But we didn't really know what we were going to do yet. We were always interested in real estate. So we ended up investing into a real estate deal, and we just invested with the wrong person. It went horribly wrong. I don't want to get too much into that story, but as honestly, as we talk, you'll see there's a theme of us like constantly just making these huge mistakes and then figuring our way out of those mistakes and sort of failing forward and ending up in a position on the other side of that obstacle that is a much better position of, before we got into those mistakes. But this one was a doozy to start. So
So you're telling us and everybody who's listening that you didn't magically just wake up one day, 140 deals under your belt without having to fuck your way through a lot of transactions, right? It's just you were what they call the overnight success.
Yes,
yeah,
is that right?
I don't think there's a such thing as that one. I think that one's that's a myth up there with the unicorn.
It's the lie, isn't it, that everyone's told, that it's like, he just woke up and he was mega successful. And it's like, but the truth is, like, besides you, because there were lessons learned, and the most expensive ones are the ones you never forget, which is actually, you should be, in a weird way, you're kind of grateful for them, because like I've made some expensive mistakes, but you can tell you what, I'm never fucking doing that shit again. There's a lot of pain that lives in that area of my brain. Yeah. I'm like, I ain't going back there. And like, I think we've all been through that. And totally. What I like about this, though, is because some people, I know a bunch, get into a business, basically the opposite of me and you, and Peter probably. They get in and they find success right away, like instantly, like their first deal, and they don't make like 100K on it, whatever. They make like 300K, and they're like, it's the easiest shit I've ever done in my life. And I just made 300 grand. And they're like, I'm going to do this. And then all of a sudden they realize that everything just happened to go smooth. You had every option to leave after basically not day one, so to speak, but it's like, it went Pete Tong, you probably lost money, I'm assuming, or a lot of it, or however that worked. And it's like, holy shit, I just fucked up. Like, is this really what I want to do? Like, and then that door's always open, right? It's an easy out, but when you just start, it's a really easy out because you're not overcommitted in a weird way.
Honestly, sometimes I feel bad for the people that start out with such a hot deal, because your business is never going to just only have like home run after home run after home run. Like, there's going to be some shitty deals 100%. Mixed in, and when you start out with such a home run, then it's hard to hustle your way through the trenches, right? When you're used 100%. To like,
you don't understand perseverance, right?
Yeah.
You don't know what a hard life looks like, because it's been, like, the whole kids, like silver, we have a saying where it's like you're born from a silver spoon, which is like the rich kids. And it's like, for example, like, will Elon Musk's kids ever be actual self-made millionaires, billionaires? Probably not. Like, you almost guaranteed none of them will be, because they've grown up with a life that most people could never even imagine. Right. And so how do they get out of the bed in the morning and feel motivated and drive to do anything of value? Because they've already basically reached a pinnacle just through association.
Yeah. There's a certain advantage that comes with working your way through hardship. And that's why, like, I look at that deal. I mean, Andrew, you kind of touched on this, but I look back at that deal with like a little bit of feeling of like a reverence, like an appreciation for that deal, because I'm like, that was such a difficult exposure, or a difficult first exposure, I guess, into the business, that it just primed me and got me ready to just take on any sort of battle that I had in front of me, because I just started out bloody, so I wasn't scared when I saw blood a little bit further down the line.
100%.
It's just once you get bloody on that first one, that second one, whatever, it's, do you have the perseverance to keep going, and can you take it as a learning experience, something to make you better, versus something to discourage you?
Right.
One of the other things is, this wasn't, first of all, your first L either, right? So one of the things that we talk about is being an actual business owner, and like what it means to be a business owner. Because if you were just an entrepreneur or self-made, whatever, right, going into this, you would have looked at that and be like, I'm fucking out. Yeah, like, I don't want to deal with this shit, because you wouldn't have the muscle, the understanding, and knowing that not everything is rainbows and flowers and,
like, if
daisy.
I was like a hobby, just like this part-time thing that I was doing, and it went so horribly wrong, and it was so difficult to get myself out of it, there's no way I would do another one. For sure.
So talk to us a little bit about the mentality of a business owner, and why is that so important? Like, why is that sort of like the equilibrium for you and Ty when it comes to running this business? Because you've had other businesses, but
yeah,
I'm assuming there's a little bit of an overlap, right?
Yeah. I mean, so we had the first business that was going really well, and then we had just some passive investments, and in addition, like we started like a hedge fund when we were in that business. It's actually kind of wild. Like we just raised some money from our friends, and that was a whole other business. And then we had small business on the side, an internet marketing business at one point. And at this point when we started this, we were in the first business, made a passive investment into real estate, decided we wanted to get out of the first business, completely independent decision. And Tyler and I made these decisions at different times, but relatively the same overall kind of clock, I guess. And we, at that point, he was doing something else. I was just sort of taking a little bit of time off to figure out what my next move was going to be. And we realized that this passive investment that we made into real estate just went horribly wrong. So at that point, since I wasn't doing anything, I ended up, using our networks, finding some people in Philadelphia who are experienced developers, and getting some mentorship from them to get our money out of it. And it was actually before we closed on that first one, Tyler and I started talking about actually running the real estate thing as, instead of a passive investment, running it as a business for ourselves. And we started having conversations like, all right, maybe this is the next thing. Maybe we'll partner up again and we'll start this as a business. So now it wasn't just this passive investment that we were making on the side, where we would invest our money in this one deal. Oh, deal went bad. Let's recoup our money and then let's look for something else. Now it's like, okay, we invested our money. Now we decide we're going to make this a business. So we put our time and our effort into learning the skills of the business versus just looking for a return from the investment. So the difference in the mentality is when you're doing it as a hobby, or you are just sort of passively investing on the side, when something goes wrong, you just say, oh crap, okay, that was a negative return. And you start looking at it as, all right, let me learn from this by seeing what pieces of this investment that I made were a causal factor in making this a negative investment for us. And then we would try to change that, right? Like the person that we invested with, for instance, we would try to change that. Now we started looking at it as a business, and we're like, okay, what physical action steps were taken in the process of purchase, rehab, sale that made this deal become a bad deal? And we started looking for the actual, like, ourselves being the operator versus being the passive investor from the outside. And at that point, it was like, just because things went wrong, we were able to look at them as learning experiences and use them as, I think, lessons that allowed us to grow and allowed us to get better, and really set us up to become better operators in that situation.
One of the things that you guys were really good from the beginning, or at least when we sat down back a few years, and we talked about even like lead gen, right? Is you guys were very number driven. So the business owner mentality that you guys, obviously has evolved because the experience, the skill set a few years later is different, right? Mm-hmm. But you guys were always tracking everything. I think that's the biggest thing also, is you guys weren't looking at this and making emotional decisions on your gut feeling or how you felt when you woke up that day. Yeah. You were looking at this of, here's an X, here's the Y. So basically, here's our action, here's the result. Let's assess and make an educated decision whether this is a good move for us or not. And your business, I'm watching, it has evolved because you guys started basically wholesaling, fixes and flips, and now you're developing. So there's a transition, growth, and your business is maturing, right? Because of the business owner mindset, because you guys are number driven.
Do you know anyone else like that, Peter?
Yeah, myself.
I can tell you, I already knew it was going to be like that because he opened up with, we studied engineering. So in my past life, Andrew, you don't know this, but I was an engineer as well. So I used to build race cars, but I counter to you, I fucking love it. Like, nice. I'm big. Yeah. I'm an engineer still to this day. Like I've got my own sheds, I've got my own race cars. I can't get enough of it. Like, it's besides business, like it's my passion, but you tend to find a lot of very successful business owners are engineers, because an engineer inherently is a data-driven problem solver. That, if you just put a synopsis around what an engineer means, it would usually come out as something like a data-driven problem solver.
I like that definition a lot too, because you fully take the ego out of it. You know,
100%.
like an engineer is an easy way to do it. If the rocket blows up, you messed up your calculations somewhere.
Right.
You got to figure out where something went wrong. But It's like it works the same way in your business. If things aren't going in the way that you want it to go, then you need to take that market feedback, take your ego out of it, and realize, okay, I'm the reason to blame. Something's going wrong. What can we change? What can we shift? And that's when you open up the hood, the metaphorical hood in that sense, and take a look inside and see, okay, we're not getting enough leads. All right, great. Well, how many seeds are we planting? How much mail is going out? How many cold calls are going out? How many digital touches are we getting? How often are we following up with each of these people? Where, what's our, how long on average are we working a lead before it actually closes? And, all of those different metrics.
Yeah, I think one of the other things, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think recently, or maybe, well, for me recently, because time just flies, but this for you guys has probably been a while, but you guys had some terrible experiences with some of your vendors, GCs, and contractors. And you're like, how can we be more efficient with solving this problem? And you guys were like, fuck it, we'll just fix it and do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? Have a little bit more control.
So this is I kind of prefaced this when we were, talking before we got on here. And the phrase that I like to use is, you start narrow and then you build wide. And what I mean by that is, so we started narrow by just looking at our skill sets that we were coming into the industry with. The skill sets that we had coming into this industry were marketing and sales, right? That was our background. That's what we did before. So we said, okay, marketing and sales, let's translate that into real estate. What does that mean? Acquisitions. So we were able to start with wholesaling, where we were doing acquisitions off market directly to the seller of the property and build up some cash flow for ourselves. Because when we started, we were actually both in debt. We didn't have any money left. So we were marketing directly to sellers, getting properties under contract, and then wholesaling them to other investors, which allowed us to do a couple of things. Number one, it allowed us to do really quick deals and make quick money. So we got our cash up. And number two, it allowed us to learn how to get deals under market value for a lower price than other investors would be willing to pay. And number three, it built us a really great network of individuals that would later become mentors for us in our transition from wholesaling into doing these fix and flips. So when you break it down, our narrow start was acquisitions. We would focus on acquisitions. And then once we got the property under contract, we would figure out how to disperse it in a way that met our needs at the time, which our needs were cash flow. And honestly, it's cash flow and mentors at that point was our biggest need.
So it's interesting because you guys were able to identify where you're saying your best skill sets and the things that you're really good at. You focused on that by pinpointing that and being narrow.
Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. Now, before you go, we're giving access to a private training we did where we revealed the top 3 niches to get listings today completely for free. So if you want access, you can go and download that training at eliteagentsecrets.com. We're regularly releasing new trainings, guides, and cheat sheets, so make sure to head over to eliteagentsecrets.com and sign up so you don't miss out.